Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of NRL Supercoach Off the Bench TLT podcast. Tonight, I'm joined by a special guest. I've got Nathan from Supercoach Guns. Welcome, Nathan.
Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be on.
Do you want to just give the viewers a bit of information as to where they can find you? Obviously, you're on the usual platforms, Spotify, YouTube, wherever else you're on as well.
Yeah, Twitter, Instagram is where you'll find us primarily working off. We're on a podcast with Adrianosaurus, and then we do some stuff with the Supercoach Hub as well. So we're pretty all over the place in the NRL Supercoach community. So you should be able to find us pretty easily, I hope.
No, it's good. I love listening to your guys' podcast, especially with Ado and Ado with his songs. I love it, mate. It's just a classic.
He's so rogue.
He's so full of energy, that bloke. We ran into him at Magic Round the other week as well, and that was just yeah, fantastic.
He's just next level, and it's
Oh
great.
mate, oh mate, he's unbelievable. And don't try and get in a drinking competition with him either.
Yeah, you'd lose, yeah.
He's a machine, that bloke. I'll give him
He's
that.
it's just next level. You can see him pumping down throughout the podcast because I can see him, right? We do it on Zoom. So I can just see him knocking back 3 or 4 in the space of an hour. And I'm like, mate, you're going to be cooked at the end of this anyway.
Yeah. I know, he's a classic. I love Ado. Shout out, Ado. Hope you're listening. So, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yep.
Did you want me to give any more information?
Yeah, go for it. Yeah,
previous?
Absolutely.
So, I mean, in terms of previous finishes, right? Usually we're in the top 5,000. We've had a couple of good years in a row. So last year, top 1,000, 988th. So only just, right? 2021, that was just the year of, Captain Tom Trbojevic and Vice Captain Nathan Cleary. Well, I came 19th then. So that was just basically, catching on to that strategy, maybe a couple of rounds earlier than everyone else. And that was it, just about. But yeah, otherwise, we've got a fair bit of experience now. And we're just looking to expand our way into the NRL Supercoach community.
And that year that you came 19th, I actually came 151st, which was by far my best one too. Got shafted in the last round because a lot of players got rested and suspended, so it didn't help. But I'll take that. I'm happy with that. So it's a good result.
So many people did well. Like so many content creators did well in 2021. It was insane. Like you had the Supercoach Spy, he came 90th. I think Aman finished in the top 100. You had Brew finishing a top 100, but
that was the year that Timmy Moody won it too, wasn't it?
Yeah, Tim Moody won it.
That's it.
Like it was just an insane year for Supercoach.
And I know that you guys do BBL podcast too. Yeah, I know it's a bit off topic, but
so we do that with Adrian. We do one with Adrian as well, and all goes to plan. Hopefully, launching one with the Supercoach Hub this year. But
yeah, nice.
So we're pretty involved in that as well. So we're active all year round, essentially.
I know he probably doesn't. He doesn't watch his pod. But shout out to Andrew from Diabolical.
Oh, nice.
He went back to back in the BBL, and he just taken out the IPL fantasy as well. Like that is a massive achievement in itself. Like BBL is one thing, but IPL fantasy, when you've got players from overseas that you don't obviously know much about, that's just I can't believe it. It's just crazy.
I've been playing. I played that this year, right? And I was like, it was a phenomenal thing that he did because he wasn't in the top 10 or anywhere near until one round where he won the round by 150 points. Like he absolutely monstered it in one round and he just kept skyrocketing up and he was uncatchable. The bloke's sensational and it's very hard with IPL because you've almost got to be up to midnight every night to check the toss. It's crazy.
Like I know that when there's one game on, I think the first game kicks off about 9:30 our time, but then Fridays and Saturday nights there's like a midnight game too.
Yeah, there's a lot of midnight games, and then there's the old game that starts at 8 or 9 o'clock, and you could only really like properly watch and take stuff away from the weekend games.
Yeah.
And so to do what he's done was just fantastic work from him.
Oh mate, I played it too, and that was only because I got an invite to join the league, and I couldn't keep up with it. I struggled, and then I kept benching the wrong players, making their own captaincies, and I'm just like, nah,
Yeah.
no, I don't have time for this.
It's not like you have this ability where you can just bench loop.
Yeah.
Because this X factor thing that they introduced to IPL to the IPL means that like you can have almost pretty much anyone in your squad can play still, and that means that all your loops, like no nuff is safe. I got burnt twice by captaining a guy that scored 0 or 2, but actually played, but came in late.
I I had 180 points sitting on my bench on the last round, and went and reversed one of my trades to bring in enough keep.
Oh, and he played.
He played, must have played
Yeah.
his neck factor and got like 5 points. I'm like, oh,
See, it's just
it's just,
yeah.
see, that's the thing too. That's the other thing you got to deal with as well with it. That's why I find it so hard to win it. It's just,
Yeah.
yeah, unbelievable.
No. And very well done to Andrew.
Yeah, good on him. All right, well, let's rip into the games. We've only got a few to go through. So first game's the Dolphins and the Dragons. Dolphins, obviously, Tom Gilbert's out, Origin, and Felice Kafusi suspended. So we've got Ray Stone coming in at lock and Herman SASA on to the starting side. We've got Hammer out with Origin with Cody Nicarima moving to fullback and Milford starts in the halves. And then we've got Mark Nichols, Mason Teague, and T. Farah joining the bench. I'll go through the rest of the Dragons, then we'll talk about the rest of this game. So we've got Jack Bird back into the side for Jaden Sewer, who's out injured. Jaden Sewer starts at halfback with Ben Hunt out in with Origin. Blake Laurie out injured with Michael Molo coming in the starting side, and Moses Mbai joins the bench. I guess the biggest point on this one is probably T. Farah on the bench and Nicarima at fullback. What's your thoughts?
I mean, if you own Suarez and he gets you to 13, I don't know if you really count it because it's
Yeah.
just like, unless he starts, you're getting maybe 10 or 15 points. And I don't think that's worth it. Nicarima at fullback really does interest me. I mean, he's got, I think, a 58 or a 59 average at fullback in his career. You can pick him at hooker. Hooker's a bit of a wasteland as well. Plus, he was killing it at 5'8" too, and seems to be ahead of Anthony Milford. And he's only playing fullback this round because, well, they can just put Milford there at 5'8", and Nicarima can just shift to fullback. So, yeah, I mean, I like him. I brought him in. He's 480, big negative break even. The only risk is that Milford shoots the lights out, Nicarima reverts to a bench role. If that happens, oh no, I guess that's not great, but you'll make 60K. So I feel like it's a lowish risk investment for
Yeah,
Nicarima.
I'm interested in Nicarima too, but I'm not going to bring him in because I've got like two hookers that are starting this week and two 5'8s that are starting. Yeah, he's an interesting one, that's for sure. Very surprised that Osako didn't play fullback. Yeah, I'm interested in your thoughts on this one because he's highly traded in this week. I reckon he was close to near must have if he was playing fullback, but now that he's not, what's your thoughts on him at 680K? It's very expensive.
I think, well, maybe he's done he's been averaging 76 as a goal kicking winger. He's just Ruben Garrick 2.0. So I don't think I can't knock it. I've brought him in as well. I'm just my thinking is right. If this train might never stop for him because he hasn't gone below 40 at all this year, right? He's goal kicking, his team's punching above their weight. His coach is Wayne Bennett, and they can find points, this Dolphins team, and he's scoring a fair few of them. So, and like with a spark like a live wire, I mean, like Nicarima at fullback, they're still gonna put on points even though they've got Origin guys out, and it's a soft matchup. I like Azarko as a trade in this week.
Yeah. I think it's a great matchup, and I don't think the Dolphins are too affected by Origin either. They're still pretty well stacked up that side, and we know what Bennett's capable of doing. For the Dragons, so is there anyone that you like as a trade in this week? I don't mind Jack Bird dual position, but
I mean, look, I would have said DeBellin, but then he's very much at risk of game two state of origin Pangai doesn't quite work out,
Yeah.
he's straight in. I mean, if you're a bit of a pod hunter, I think there's something there with Lomax, because I think he's on the right side now, which is his favoured side of the field. He was playing left centre. He's back over at the right. Um, if the Dragons can find some form, he will benefit because he's the goal kicker and he's probably going to get some attacking stats. Otherwise, I wouldn't be actively trading in any St. George players. I think in all likelihood, they finish in the bottom four. Possibly they collect the spoon.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of fringe players that I'm worried about trading in this week, and I think people should be too aware of trading in these fringe origin players. I mean, we'll go through some others, but Jack DeBellin's definitely one of them, for sure. So, all right, moving on to the next game. Eels versus Cowboys. So for the Eels, Joe Affingoe comes straight in into the team, replacing Junior Paulo. He's out for Origin. Matto is out with a calf injury. Luca Moretti comes onto the bench. And then Andrew Davies out with a head knock with Matt Dorey coming to the starting side. A depleted Cowboys massively here. Val Holmes is out with Origin. Zach Labert comes in. Talangi's out with Origin. Robert Derby debuts. Tom Dearden's out with Ben Hampton coming in. Ruben Cotter's out for Origin with Jake Granville at lock, and then Griffin Neme and JTB comes onto the bench. Geez, there can be some carnage here for the Cowboys, I think, with those edges. I think Sivo, Penasini, and Moses and Brown are all in for a big game.
Yeah, I mean, there's the Paras outside backs. Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of points to share around there. Dylan Brown feels like a pretty good captaincy option or vice captaincy option. And but in saying that, like Hopgood's going to be playing 70 to 80 at lock. And we've seen this season, he's usually 80 to 90 points. So if you want a super safe vice captain, super safe captain, well, Hopgood's your guy. The only thing is you're vice captaining in the previous game. What's that? Marshall King, maybe a Nikorima. So there's a bit to think about there. Mainly my main interests in terms of like who I own, Dylan Brown, Clint Gutherson. I think they're both due for some big games. If you're looking to trade in Joe Ofahengawi, I don't mind it, but you just got to take into account how many from Parramatta, Newcastle, and Manly you actually have, because that'll affect you negatively next week when you need to play 17 players. If you have 7 to 8, you're in hot water. If you have more than 8, you're like really bad. So you just got to take that into account when you're doing your trades this week.
We've been saying on our pod, I think we all agree that about 6 is the max for the 3, I think, just to be safe, especially with Origin players potentially not backing up. I'm pretty keen on Penasini this week, just with him and Sivo up against Derby and Hiku, he's a terrible defender. What's your thoughts on trading Penasini? I mean, I'm pretty set for next week.
Well, I think if it's the right side attack, it's Penasini and Sean Russell. It's Bailey Simonson and Micah Sivo running at Peter Hiku and Robert. No, it's Hiku and Felt. It's the other side. Labor and Derby. Oh, well, that is good it's Penasini and Russell. Yeah, no, Penasini I like then. Yeah, definitely like Penasini.
Yeah, he's only 540k. I'm going to trade out Hammer because I held him for 13. I literally held him for 13 and was not expecting him to get picked at all. Yeah. So
he's a victim of his own success in that regard with the amount of tries he's been scoring. Yeah. It's quite unfortunate.
But I did get lucky because Campbell Graham's playing, so I feel I got a bit of luck out of that one.
You did. Oh, geez, that's a mega pod owning Campbell Graham.
Geez. Yeah. It could be another one that goes big this week too. We'll talk about it when we get to that game. So
yeah, any interest in the 2 debutants, Labor and Derby? I get that they play they've got proven guns coming back into their positions, but Peter Hiku hasn't been shooting the lights out. If Zach Labor puts up some performances, Hiku's as good as gone. Like he signed with the Super League for next year, so like there is a world where Labour nails down this spot. That's just something to monitor, I think.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, 100%. I mean, I don't know. Do the Cowboys play round 16 or have they got the bye?
Cowboys play round 16 because they've got
Yeah,
by round 15.
that's right. So yeah, something to keep an eye on. I mean, you'll get a look at him. He's only. I think this is his first game anyway, so you'll get a look at him. And if he nails down that spot, definitely, I think so. The only thing that worries me, Nathan, is the Cowboys look terrible at the moment. They really do. I mean, that performance against the Tigers was really, really ordinary.
Yeah, I mean, it's just typical of the Cowboys this season as well. They turned up in their last two matches. I know they kept the Roosters to only 4 points, and then they come out, 2 weeks later, and they get absolutely walloped by the Tigers. So it's so hard to get a read on them. If they can find some form of consistency, the Cowboys guys all of a sudden become really relevant.
Yeah,
Even then, last year we saw with Jacob Carraz, you don't necessarily have to be in a good team to make money. You can just be a really good player. So I'm keen to see how Labour performs, and if he's good enough, he'll probably be my team round 16. So that's when his first price rise will be.
yeah. I think Val Holmes even too. I mean, most are going to trade him out this week because obviously he's playing Origin, but he's averaging around about 60 in a team that's pretty much getting beaten every week too. So yeah. Look, there is players in teams that aren't going well that are definitely worth having. We've seen that. So,
Yeah,
anyone else that you like from this game at all?
I mean, Luciano has always been super coach relevant as a starter. So if he's, if as we've just spoken about, if he can be a gun player, even if it is in a bad team, he'll be on many radars because he's not super expensive. He's I think 550, so it's not a tough price to pay up for. But yeah, not much other interest here, I don't think.
Yeah. All right, next game, the Warriors and the Broncos. So for the Warriors, they obviously had the bye last week, but Jackson Ford comes back into the side from his concussion. Wade Egan's out. I'm not sure what's going on there. He hasn't been named. No report of an injury, whether he's been dropped.
Mm.
Freddie Lushett comes in, and then Luca Metcalf returns from injury, replacing Ronald Volkman. For the Broncos, we've got Walsh out with Origin, replaced by Tristan Taylor at fullback. Cobbo out with Origin. Mariner comes in for him. Palacia starts for Flegel, who's out for Origin, and then Corey Jensen in for Payne Haas, who's out for Origin, and then Kobe Hetherington starts with Pat Carrigan, also out for Origin, and then Xavier Wilson and Brendan Pekura joins in the change bench. I think Luke Metcalf is one to watch for sure.
He really is because I think he started one game at 5'8" in the NRL. It was for the Sharks. He was against the Tigers. He scores 96 and 75 minutes. I was looking at this earlier today. That's why I've recalled it so clearly. But yeah, like the dude is just he's a live wire. He has a very friendly Supercoach game. Lots of runs. He's always in support as well. I've seen a lot of New South Wales Cup stuff from him. Yeah, I feel like if he makes the most of this opportunity, we'll all need to bring him in, and he will keep his spot for the Warriors because he's such a gun footballer.
Yeah, I'd be happy to trade him. I'll be happy to palm off Katoa from the Dolphins after this week.
Yeah,
See him if he gets a run again. So
I've got a slightly bigger issue palming off Cody Walker or Dylan Brown.
no, no, you don't want to be doing that then, Jesus.
Yeah.
um,
Oh.
all right. So anyone from the Broncos that interests you? Obviously, there's a few players that are coming in there that are probably not going to potentially going to play more minutes this week, but they don't play 16. The Broncos either.
Yeah. I mean, there's no one really, right? I mean, yeah, I'm struggling to. No one's really standing out
Mm.
to me. I think maybe more so for draft. Like Tristan Sailor's a pretty good player. He would have cracked on, but he would have really made a name for himself in the NRL had he not been stood down due to some off-field
Yeah.
incidents. he's a really gun player. Obviously, son of an absolute gun interest in Wendell Sailor. So you'd think that some of those footy genetics would have carried on, and they have. If he's available in fullback centre wing for draft, that's a great just plug and play in this round. If you do have head to heads this round, not many people do, I don't think, but if they do, he's a good plug.
Obviously he's leaving at the end of the season. Were you surprised that Herbie wasn't given a crack at fullback?
I was surprised. I just thought that they've got a lot of good young players in there. Like they could have put Dean Mariner. They could have named Jordan Pereira.
Yeah.
Deloise Hoyter, he was really good last year. They could have named all those guys on the back line and not lost a lot. So whether or not Herbie Farnworth isn't quite as good of a fullback as what we are being led to believe, I don't know. But clearly Tristan Sailor's doing something right if he's forced Hardworth still in the centres.
It's interesting because all these guys that you were just mentioning about Pereira and that, they were the guys who were coming in when Oates and that were out injured. So I'm surprised to see that neither of those two got a run.
Yeah, because no, it was Arthur's that has been filling in. So he's on the wing, and then you've got Dean Mariner on the other wing, who's their big young gun, who is a massive watch heading into next year because he'll replace Farnworth.
Yeah.
So you're hoping that he doesn't get too many games because he is a stud player.
Yeah. All right. Anyone else? Nothing. No one else. Then pretty much from that game.
If you feel, Warriors. I mean, Who Harris? He's a very compelling buy. I haven't gone him, but that's only because I'm not trading out any of my forwards this week. That's the only reason. But he'd be one of the more compelling forward targets, I think, because it's the dual position, big minutes at lock. It all points towards him, pumping out a really good score. In saying that, you could be burnt bad if he does find an injury, which he can do. But it's a buy round, so you're at least protected a little bit. Adam Fanua-Blake, mega pod because he's so pricey. If you're willing to pay up for Fanua-Blake, you probably deserve it because he's seriously putting out some stupid scores and he's going on a proper try scoring run. Again, if you've got the funds and you're a Haas owner and you're just looking to sort of keep that Haas money locked in somewhere, Fanua-Blake feels like a smart investment in that regard.
I just can't do it because of the price. I mean, I'm trading out Tino just because I need, he's not one that I feel I can get rid of out of my Origin players that I don't have to have. I know he pumped out a massive game last week and can potentially get him back later, but I'm just thinking it's a lot to pay for that for AFB when I can get a horse or a Tarpany for 200k cheaper. I mean, can you keep going? Can you keep scoring tries? That's the thing.
I hope so. It's good viewing. It's really good viewing. I hope so.
Yeah.
But in fairness to Fanua-Blake, they are up against a very soft middle defense this week. I mean, Palacia, Jensen, Walters, and Kobe Hetherington doesn't necessarily strike fear into any forward's heart, respectfully. So I don't mind the Fanua-Blake play.
Yeah. Definitely a pod move at the price. I like it. All right, next game, South and the Raiders. So for South, obviously the Trolls out with Origin. Blake Tafe comes in at fullback. Cam Murray's out with Origin. Liam Martin starts at lock. And then Jai Arrow's out with Origin. Cheekham comes onto the edge. And then Shaquille Mitchell and Tallis Duncan, who I guess is on debut. I've never heard of him. He comes onto the bench. And for the Raiders, Hudson Young's out with Origin. Corey Narira comes onto the starting side. Elliot Whitehead's out suspended. Joe Tarpany moves to lock. And Solo starts at prop. And Zach Wolford comes back on the side with Danny Levi dropping to reserves. And Nick Kotrick on the bench. So they have Nick Kotrick and Tom Starling on the interchange bench.
Oh, it's a weird old bench that they've named, isn't it?
It's strange.
That probably won't stay, I would say.
Sure.
I mean, like Peter Holler is the only, well, Puru and Peter Holler are the only two middle forwards in their reserves. Um, yeah,
Like,
it's weird.
is it the case of Kotrick's there, and if he may replace like Albert Kelly or something, or did he just drop out of the team?
Yeah, I would say that he replaces Hopewade and then Hopewade gets, shafted back to New South Wales Cup.
Mm.
That's what I'd be doing at least. You know, in terms of the Raiders, I mean, I have a bit of a love affair with Harawira Naira in terms of Supercoach. In 2021, I owned him from the first game that he started in to actually I owned him for every game that he played that year, including the one where he got sent off late in the game. But he averaged something like 70 as a starting back rower in that year, and he was 300,000 when I bought him. So he served me well, and anytime I see CHN starting, my ears prick up a little bit, and I'm thinking, okay, how long's the guy that's injured out for? Is it worthwhile bringing him in? This time, I'm not sure that it is because it looks like Elliot Whitehead's missing maybe 2 to 4 weeks at most. Can't justify it with that. If it was more like 6 to 8, I think it's worth the play, and I would have done the trade. But I just don't think it's quite worthwhile.
It's he's been a bit faded out, hasn't he? I mean, it's a shame. Him and he'd get a start in any other team, like really, like.
Yeah, I wonder if any clubs will be calling by June 30 to say, hey, is CHN available? We could do with him.
Yeah.
Because he's too good to be playing reserve grade. Yes, his defense is a bit volatile, but that can be that can be changed in a good system. So if there's a club that needs a back row, I would be putting the call out to get Corey Harawira to your team.
I reckon Bellamy would
Yeah.
potentially look at him. I mean, for Storm, but obviously now that Kafusi and those other guys have gone to the Dolphins, that they're not missing any forwards. Welsh is not, well, not even Welsh is missing because he wasn't even picked in the
Yeah.
18-man squad. So
Yeah. And as well, like, you've even at full strength, you've got Elliot Toa. He's sort of the same sort of, strike weapon back rower that Harawira Naira is. And you've got Trent Loiero, who's, really solid meat and potatoes guy on the edge. Never going to let you down in that regard. So you're not really looking to make your second row any more volatile than it needs to be. So, like the Storm, whilst it sounds good and they do have a very good defensive system, it might not be their go. Had they not found Zach Hosking, I think CHN back at Penrith would have been a great call. Or, what's another club? South Sydney could do with him, honestly. Putting him on the left edge, that would make it a lethal combination.
I should even see even at the Dogs too, because Dogs are a bit light on for.
Well, they are with kick out, aren't they? But I think
Mm,
they've got a messy relationship after everything that happened
yeah,
when CHN early 2020, I think it was. So
that's right.
I'm not sure
Yeah,
how that's going.
yeah. So I'm at the choice of between Horse and Tarpany to trade in. The Horse is another one of these ones that worries me about being on the fringe for potentially playing Origin 2. Flegler or someone else has a stinker. I could easily see him going into that team for game 2. Do you think it's just safer and go Tarpany?
I think so. I also think that Tarpany will end up playing on the edge and not Horsburgh. I think Horsburgh is definitely an out and out middle, whilst Tarpany has that sort of more wiry frame that kind of suits the back row a bit. So I think you'll see him actually play on the edge with Horsburgh still doing his usual thing at lock. And that excites me more, to be honest, Tarpany on an edge, because he's been a bit too meat and potatoes. And I'm hoping that just Ricky says to him, all right, now that you're on edge, it's time to pop the offload, do a little bit more when you have the ball in hand, because you're going to be less tired than you would be in the middle. So it might open up his upside a little bit. Yeah, his floor might drop a little bit, like mean, that's fair enough. But yeah, I do quite like Tarpany as a trade-in, and certainly not worried if he is on an edge, probably happy. And if he's a lock, he's playing massive minutes, so he'll have pretty good output.
Yeah. Anyone you like to trade in for South this week other than Cody? Do you think there's anyone?
Damien Cooks.
Oh,
The
Cook,
one,
of course.
yeah.
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
I have Brandon Smith, yet I've chosen to go to Nikorima over Damien Cook, just because Cook will be straight back into that Origin team if Coruscant has a slightly below par performance, because you can't keep an elite dummy half down for long in terms of not being a state of origin team, a spot that some would say should have been his well and truly. We'll have to see how this goes, but Cookie, I get he's playing 13. He's a risk because he's a pretty good shot at not playing 16.
Yeah, I is another one of the fringe players that we're talking about. I mean, for me, Hooker's been mud position this year. It really has. I mean, it's not been great. I mean, I traded Harry Grant to JMK a few weeks ago, pretty much 413, and I'm pretty happy with the trade, to be honest with you, because JMK's plugging on nicely. I got him cheap, sold Harry Grant when he was high, so I didn't lose any money off him. But it's not a great position this year. I can see the hype and everyone jumping on Cook, but I just can't do it myself. I think with Cody at fullback, I think he's a better option and a safer option too.
Yeah. I'm starting to think that, if Nikorima could hold, I mean, he's not going to hold down the spot forever, right? Because you've got Sean O'Sullivan who's going to come back in, probably walks back into the team, although I'm not sure. You know, the strategy might be to try and pick someone at hooker, like have Harry Grant and or have JMK or have both. But if you can't get both in, look for someone who is available at hooker that isn't playing hooker. And there's not many examples of it out there. Nikorima is probably the only prime example, which is why he's such a relevant person this week, particularly at fullback. So there is something there, but it's just that there's a lack of spread coverage. There's not many dual position players at hooker this year, not as many as there have been in the past.
Yeah. Anyone else from this game at all that you can?
I mean, Cody Walker's obvious.
Yeah.
Alex Johnston's pretty obvious as well. I feel like, but with Campbell Graham is there. If Campbell Graham doesn't end up playing, because he's under a bit of an injury cloud, if he doesn't end up playing, right, then I could see Alex Johnston crossing over for 3 tries at a minimum, because South will revert back to that basic attack of, all right, let's pepper the left edge. And it will work against what I would say is a slightly leaky Raiders defense. But yeah, otherwise, no one that stands out to me.
Yeah. All right. All right, next game and the last game is Knights versus Manly. For the Knights, we've got Caleb Ponga moving back to fullback, pushing Lachlan Miller back to the bench, and got Tyson Gamble starts 5'8". Alan Elliott moves into the starting side at lock, with Jack Johns moving to the edge to replace Tyson Frizzell, who's out for Origin. Tom Trebojevic is out with Origin, with Caleb Weeks starting fullback. Jake Trebojevic is out injured, replaced by Sipley, and Sean Kepi starts lock. And then you've got Cooper Johns replacing DC, who's out for Origin, and Tupelotu joins in the change bench with Manly's new recruit Jake Arthur named on the extended bench. I'm really not sure what the hell Seabold's doing here, why he's not playing Garrick at fullback. I'm not getting it. I mean, we saw it against the Titans, I think it was a few weeks ago, when they didn't have Garrick at fullback, and that was just shambles.
Yeah, Weeks is he's a bit raw as a prospect. And like when you have a fullback like Tom Trebojevic, you're probably not thinking about developing a future fullback, right? Because Turbo's like 26, 27. He's still got 6 years of fullback play. Weeks is not going to sit around and wait. You're just developing him for another club at that point. So yeah, I agree. It is a strange one. I feel like there could still be a late change with Morgan Harper in the reserves. They could just
I think Cooler's named on the extended bench too.
He's in the centres, isn't
Oh, is
he?
he? Okay. Maybe you're right. I was getting mixed up with Morgan Harper. Sorry, I think you're right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
if it's Morgan Harper could easily replace uh KO Weeks, and they put Harper on the wing and Garrick at fullback. That's entirely possible. But for now, I certainly wouldn't be buying KO Weeks just because he's named at
Yeah.
fullback, and I would still be getting Ruben Garrick even though he's not named at fullback. Because he's just such an elite player. It won't matter. He'll have Josh Schuster still, who is going to be running the show in terms of creative ability and, setting up tries because he was on fire last weekend. Absolutely on fire.
Yeah, it was good to see. I'm pretty sure most of us benched him, but I don't think there was many that played him. And as I said, obviously Tupelotti's on the bench too, so there's a chance he comes in, KO Weeks drops out, he goes to the wing and Garrett goes to fullback. I think let's just keep our fingers crossed as Garrick owners that it happens, I reckon.
Yeah,
Um,
Tuipulotu's definitely playing, and it's definitely that Weeks is on the bench. Like, I
yeah,
didn't notice that Tuipulotu was in the interchange. Okay, so yeah, no, Weeks ain't playing fullback. No.
yeah, all right. That's that sold then. That's that sold.
Um,
What do you think
sorry,
about What do you think about Ponga? What's your thoughts
Ponga.
on buying him? It's very risky, isn't it?
Oh, it is, isn't it? Like, think when you have Cody Walker playing 13, if you're making trades at 5'8", I'd be going to walk Cody Walker. It's just, it makes so much sense, locking in a gun 5'8", yeah, you're paying up for him, but he's putting out stupidly good scores. Historically, he averages even better than what he does without Latrell. You know, no Latrell there means that Cody Walker is going to score even better than what he usually does. I just think it makes sense picking Cody Walker, and so as such, I couldn't go anywhere near Ponga.
I think it's the price difference that are doing it to most people because it's like 300K difference in price. Because
Yeah,
the Ponga's only about 500.
yeah. I mean, I understand why people are doing it, but I would just pay up.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway,
What about
sorry,
Schuster? So what about Schuster?
Schuster.
If
Woohoo!
you if if you don't own him, I mean you got to get him in this week, don't you? Like
You do. You just do because that was a real that performance last week was a real I'm back. This is the Schuster that people claim that this is the Schuster that I am, not the
yeah,
one that this is not the one that you claimed I was. I am him essentially. It was a I'm him performance from Josh Schuster. Um, you know, I think you do need him in. He's what, like 340, massive negative break even. He will be the sole pure playmaker in this team. So any points that they put up almost certainly be assisted or will involve Josh Schuster to some extent. Just on that left edge at Manly, Samuela Fainu, he's a basement price front rower.
mm,
He's been named to start on the edge. Burbo's out for a while. Um, what's his name? Kelma Tuolagi's out for
4 weeks.
ages as
Yeah,
well.
yeah.
So, and neither of them had the spot locked down. So if Fainu comes out and kills it, he can keep the spot. He's front row, basement price. If you're looking to downgrade, he's a very good option.
I
A
was
very good option.
I was very tempted by that because I've got Mawali and obviously Mawali's not playing this week. Another one that I held for 13 that's not playing. It's very tempting to. It's 100K banked by doing that trade too.
Yeah. So
Very tempting.
yeah, and he looked pretty good in the two games he's played. So
Yeah.
I'm not necessarily like if you have him as your fourth front rower, you're doing pretty well, I think, because he's going to put out good scores. He should be putting out 40 to 50 pretty comfortably.
It also helps that Burbo's out and Gerbo's out too.
Yeah. There's
Because
massive minutes for someone in that middle.
what do you think there? So Gerbo, do you think obviously if you I wouldn't buy Kepi, but if you've got him, you wouldn't trade him out, would you? Surely he's going to get some extra minutes this week.
Yeah, him, Paseka, and Sipley, I see as massive beneficiaries.
Mm.
I think Paseka was already playing 55 minutes, so I'm not sure how much room there is for him to grow. I think he could be a 60-minute front rower, definitely. I think Sipley, I think he's playing 50, and I think Kepi will be playing 40 to 50 as well. So there's, yeah, big minutes, and I think, yeah, as you say, there's a lot of Kepi should be definitely held. I don't think I'd buy him. I think I'd rather buy Paseka or Sipley out of the three of them. But yeah, definitely a lot of opportunity there for some of these Manly middle forwards.
I actually owned Paseka in a couple of drafts. I picked him up a few weeks
Ooh.
ago. Nice, nice. Like he's been killing it.
Yeah,
But then I saw his price because I'm like, okay, he's a good option for Classic. Plays 13. He's nearly 600k or something.
it's crazy.
He's just snuck up. He's just kept snucking up and sneaking up. Like,
Mhm. Like,
yeah,
yeah, he's been putting together just quietly a very good season.
mm, yeah.
Filling in, who left at the end of last year? Tapau, yeah, filling in, replacing Tapau long term. He's doing a great job.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well, that's all the games. We'll just quickly go through some of the trade in and trade outs. I think the main ones. So trade outs. Nico Hines number 2 on the list. Nathan nearly 5,000 trading him out. I'm
Yeah,
guessing I'm guessing it's probably to Moses. Is my guess.
yeah, Moses or Cody Walker, right?
Yeah.
No, I think it's an interesting trade. I would if it's to Cody Walker, I feel slightly better about it because Cody Walker is it has just a higher ceiling as Nico Hines. But in saying that, I would the people who are trading out Nico Hines better have a very concrete plan on getting him back in. Because if you can't get him back in and he's reached 950,000, your season's over, to put it bluntly. Like, you need a proper plan to get in Nico Hines if you're selling him this week.
I think if you go to Cody, I don't mind it. I mean, you should have similar cash to go back to him. I
Yeah.
Look, I don't hate the trade out. He doesn't play 16, he doesn't play 17, and he doesn't play 19 either. So
Yeah,
it's a lot of cash to leave on the bench for 3 weeks, plus this week's full.
that is true. I would rather if I'm ever gonna sell Nico, I would sell him. So he's missing 16, 18, and 19 or 16,
I think
17.
I think they've got by 17. So yeah,
Okay, so 16, 17, and 19. Well, I'd rather sell him going into round 16, to be honest. I'd rather hold him this week, have him for 14, have him for 15, then sell him right on 16 to, I don't know, someone who is going to cover you for the vast majority of the run home at and has dual position. So you can move this person to 5'8". It's just that this person probably doesn't exist. Like it might be Matt Burton is the only one that springs to mind. But yeah, I think for now I'm not trading Nico Hines.
I think I had a look at his draw. So he's got the Broncos next week.
Yeah,
Now you're going to have a lot of players backing up from Origin for the Broncos, and he's got the Storm. He's probably going to have a point to prove against the Storm too. I could see him coming out and have a big one in that one
yeah.
too.
Mm-hmm.
Break even at 97. I think he's definitely a hold. I think, like you said, if you're going to trade him out, do it round 16. Don't do it now.
Yeah,
Um, Even if I know there's a lot of people going to Moses and good on them, but I think that Moses is just so rocks and diamonds that
yeah.
he could come out and get you 30 points in those 3 games that Hines is out.
Yep, exactly. Like he has a very low floor, like a very, very low floor. Even the goal kicking doesn't protect him at times because if he goes low, Parramatta have not scored points,
Correct.
and
Yeah.
so it's a really bad score if he does not. Like if they don't put on points, he's going sub 20 more often than not.
There's so many mouths to feed there too between him,
Yep.
Dylan Brown, and Gutho too. Like there's just so much attack to go through them.
Yeah, and the back rowers as well. Even when they're not at full strength, a lot of the Para's play is built around short balls to the edge forwards, and those edge forwards creating second phase. So like during Cartwright, they're going to be just as involved in goal line attack as what your Dylan Browns, your Mitch Moses, your Cody Walkers, not Cody Walker, Clint Gutherson, that's the guy. Those guys that are involved in this attack. So, yeah, as you say, so many mouths to feed.
Yeah. The other one I mentioned on the trade out is Isaiah Katoa, obviously starting this week. So we've got most traded out to Schuster, then Ponga, and then Cook. Now, what's your thoughts on this one? I mean, I'm going to hold, for me, it's a number at the end of the day. So unless you've got enough players and you've got enough trades, I just don't feel it's a good trade. I don't know.
Uh, yeah, I think that dual position might help. Plus, he's got a pretty good matchup. It's St. George. They're not a brilliant team by any means. Yeah, I wouldn't be selling Katoa. You've held him this long, you may as well hold him for this game. Part ways with him round 14.
Yeah. All right, we'll just quickly go through a few on the trading list. So Damien Cook's number one. We've already spoken about him. All right, Hopgood was spoken about. Moses. Look, most of these guys we've pretty much already spoken about. So we've got Cook, Harris, Ponga, Osako, Hopgood, Moses, Nikarima, Schuster, Gary, Walker. I think we all agree they're pretty good trade-ins, right? Except for
Ponga's really the one.
Ponga's,
And Moses.
Yeah, yeah.
Otherwise, I can't knock any of the other ones. So that must mean that we're on the right track as super coaches.
I think so. I'm surprised that Cody's still low at number 10 though too. It's interesting. So
it must be a cash issue,
if you've got the cash to go Katoa to Cody Walker, I think that's a brilliant trade if you can do it.
Yeah. I get you when I'm losing a buy number. If you have 13 and you're just trying to improve the quality of the 13, I think I'd do it. Yeah,
I think so too. If you've got like a 13 and there's like maybe 9 to 10 guns and three, if he's like a Katoa or a Schuster or something, then I think just do it, make it happen.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, last question I've got for you, Nathan. I think this was discussed on the Podmaster chat earlier. Is what do we think's a good number for this week? I mean, do we think 15's enough? Like I'm seeing teams going higher, which I just feel like it's a waste of trade. Like you'd be wanting to hold trades, wouldn't you?
Yeah. I mean, I'm going in with 13 and 13 only. It's just I don't get why people are going with so many numbers, because it's not actually going to help you in the long run. You're still getting 13 scores, and if you have 13 people starting, in the starting 13 for their respective teams, you're going to get a good enough score from them anyway. It's just protecting yourself against center wing volatility. But this week, I mean, if you've done your center wings, there's not many cheapy center wings playing, is there? Like Jared Croker might be someone that people are worried about, right? His goal kicking is a very good floor. He's scoring 40 to 45. The only reason I'd see you potentially going for 14 is covering an injury-prone player or someone who's playing injured. So let's say, for example, and I say this as an example because a lot of people will own him or bring him in, Tohu Harris. Let's say he comes out and he's injured after 20 minutes, okay? If you're 14 players, you're not taking Tohu's score. So that's the only way I could see maybe a 14th player being feasible is if you're bringing in Tohu, but, otherwise I'm not keen on having more than 13 playing players this week.
I've had a lot of people coming to me the last few weeks about planning for 13 and stuff like that. And I'm like, have you looked at 14? Have you looked at 16? Because for me, next week is just as vital as what this week is.
Yeah. As you said earlier, the magic number for round 14 is 6. If you've left less than 6 players from Manly, from Para, and from the Knights combined, you will be fine next week. If you have more than that, it's time to start looking at trades. I know I have more than that, and I'm looking at, I don't know. I'll run you through my trades shortly, but what I'm doing in the next 2 weeks is a little bit complex, but it does get me gun halves of Cleary, Hines, Dylan Brown, and Cody Walker, and it all revolves around Phoenix Crossland. What a reliable player!
Man, I was gonna bring him in the other week, and I panic traded it when I went to the South Tigers game and traded out Brendan Hands and went for Jaden Sullivan for a massive
Oh,
7 points. And Crossland was the other one I was going to go, and I wish I'd have done it. I really wish I'd have. But
oh yeah,
look, he's starting this week. Hopefully, he can repay the faith to me. Because I need to shaft him off, and he's got a massive break even. So if he can at least get toward something close to his break even, I'll be happy with that. But yeah,
yeah,
all right. Well, let's talk trades. So I am going to go at this stage. I'm going to go hammer to Penasini as one trade. I just think Penasini's got a really good base as well. I find, and I think they've got some good matchups coming up. And the other one is Tino out to either Horse or to Tarpany.
yeah. That's pretty good trades. Tarpany in, I like it. I would be doing Tarpany over the Horse. Just big minutes either on the edge or at lock. If it wherever Horsburgh's playing, it'll just lock in that Tarpany's playing at least 60 minutes this week. So yeah, I do like Tarpany, and yeah, I like the trades. I've gone with this week. I've done 3 trades. It'll get me to 13 players. What I've done is I've taken Brandon Smith, who I still own, unfortunately, and I've taken him to Cody Nikorima. That's only a $40,000 upgrade, though I could have gained 100,000 out of that trade last week. Anyway, yeah, Cheese to Nikorima. I've done Lockie Miller, who I owned and he got benched, so I had to sell him. Taken him to Jermaine Asako. And then the final trade, and this is the interesting one. I've done Nathan Cleary to Cody Walker. And so by selling Nathan Cleary this week, it ensures that I get Phoenix Crossland score and Cody Walker's score this week. And then next week, I've saved enough money to do Crossland to Nathan Cleary. And with that, I'll be also doing Hosking to Harrison Edwards next week, just to make sure the money's all working. Essentially, it'll get me the 4-gun halves. It'll get me a lot of coverage across my squad. And it also means I won't have to do many trades in round 15 or 16 because I'll already have 13 playing players for round 16. Now, round 17 is probably where I use my trades a fair bit, but otherwise, we're looking pretty good in that regard. And provided I don't stuff it up, technically, it should all work, and I should have 4 elite halves.
So how many trades have you got left? If you're doing these 1 week plays, I'm presuming you've got some trades left.
No, I don't. I'm
Okay.
just a bit too rogue. 19 post
Okay.
trades.
Okay.
But by doing these trades, it's ensuring that I'm not doing trades around 15. Going into round 15, I might be doing 1 or 2 at most round 16, and hopefully again 1 at most in round 17, because I've essentially just accelerated the planning, but I've done it in a way that means that I'm not relying on mid ranges as much. I'm mainly relying on just these guns. Most of my mid ranges, ironically, will either be out of my team or are oddly enough in state of origin. in state
Yeah.
of origin. So like I have Pangai, I have Utoi Kamanu, Welch is there or thereabouts for Origin as well. So it is what it is. Yeah, that's my team.
Do you have any boosts left, or they're all out the
No,
window?
they've been gone since round 8. Don't be silly.
Okay. Okay. I sort of said to people, there's no point in hanging on to the boost. I mean, I used my last one I think 2 weeks ago, so I got through a bit further. Because I said to people, you've got to remember, round 13, 16, 19, you get 3 trades. So unless you're going to make 4 trades in a buy period, then there's no point in hanging on to them. Said you need to use them, fix your team up, get your team where you need to be at. So you actually answered my next question because I actually own Lachlan Miller. I only bought him in 2 weeks
Yeah,
ago,
yeah.
Nathan.
I mean,
Um,
oh, jeez, he's got to go.
so I I bought the week of Magic Round, I bought in Talakai, which was a brilliant trade, got me 100, and then he wasn't named, and then panic traded and went to Miller for two pretty average scores.
Ooh, ouch.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
So my question to you is, would you trade out Hammer or Miller? Because I mean, Hammer's obviously going to miss three of the next God knows how many games too.
yeah. I mean, I'm still inclined to say Miller because you're talking, a 50 grand, maybe even more in price drops this week from Miller but you're holding him for 15, 20 points, probably realistically. So yeah, you kind of have to sell him. You kind of have to sell him, unfortunately. It sucks, but yeah, I'd move him on. I'd move him if you could to Osako, but yeah.
I it's I just don't even see I don't even see him starting on the bench, to be honest with you either. I just don't know where's he going to play. He's not going to play hooker. He's not. What are they going to do with him?
I suspect they might move Gamble to lock and put Miller in at 5'8" for a little bit
But that could be only 20 minutes, right?
at most.
Because yeah,
Adam O'Brien is an absolute madman. Either drop the bloke or start the bloke. Don't play silly buggers and carry a fullback on your bench. Anyway,
I'm baffled by it because I still think he's
yeah,
been one of their best players this year.
he
Because
has. He has had
he
a
hasn't been great the last couple of weeks. I'll admit that,
yeah,
but the whole Newcastle team hasn't been playing great the last few weeks either. So
yeah. It's just it's really weird, and it couldn't have come at a worse time.
yeah, I know.
Anyway,
I mean, by planning, don't we love it all?
oh, so worth it. So worth it.
It,
Couldn't recommend it more.
I guess we're lucky it's only best 13 this year, right? So we don't have to panic
Exactly.
so much.
Exactly right.
All right, before we finish up, I guess we'll go through VC and C choices. I'll go first. I'm going to go Dylan Brown into Garrick, just plain and simple, plain out straight. So
Yeah. I'm tempted by that. But I'm going VC Nikorima into Captain Dylan Brown.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Nikorima at fullback. I like the upside in this matchup. Osako is also a tempting vice captain, and I
oh yeah.
might still end up on Osako, to be honest. But yeah, it'll be Nikorima or Osako. I do own Marshall King, but I think it'll be one of the three Dolphins I end up vice captaining.
But now that Campbell Graham's playing too, it's another it throws another spanner into the works as an option too. But then again, Latrell's not there either, so I don't know. I don't know how much it's going to affect him.
Yeah, no, yeah. No, that's fair enough.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, that's all for tonight. I'd like to thank Nathan for jumping on from Supercoach Guns. I appreciate your time, and it's been great to have you on.
No,
Yeah, it's good.
no, thank you for having me. It's always good to talk Super Coach.
Uh,
Just
yeah,
we love the stuff.
we breed the stuff,
We
and
do, we do.
this ends, and then we'll get BBL and whatever else comes on, and hopefully they'll bring back the racing this time around as well. I think we need to get them onto that one too, because I'm pretty much addicted to all of it. I'll play it all.
Oh yeah, I nearly won the racing one time. I think I was as high as fifth, and I think I don't know. I picked a couple of dud horses. All of a sudden, I think I finished 12th. Yeah, I finished 12th. I was as high as fifth, and I was like, oh, I could actually win some money here. Who would have thought? But
Yeah,
it's a shame. It's a shame it's gone. It was quite fun, actually.
yeah, yeah.
Anyway,
All right. Well, thanks for everyone for tuning in. And we'll see you on Sunday night for our round 13 wrap. Until then, good luck for the weekend and chat soon. Thanks, everyone. Take care.
thank you.